So I actually don't know how much you can see. Like, can you understand that I'm not naked, right? Yeah, okay, you can understand. Because at the first time that I looked at the camera, I was like, damn, where's my clothes? And that was weird. Hello, beautiful bookworms! My name is Katarina and welcome to my channel. And today I'm gonna be doing for you a review of a sort of books. Okay, so it's kind of like, let me try that again. What do I call this? Like, I have no idea. Like, for you to see how bad I am doing this, I have no idea what I'm going to call this. So basically, as you can see by the title of this video, hopefully I'm going to be doing a review of some comic volumes that together form a sort of a series about Batman and Joker and Harley and everyone involved in the world of Batman. Let's just say that. So I'm going to be reviewing Batman the White Knight, and this is an 8-volume series of a sort. So these are comics, they are fairly small, but it's an 8-volume comic series, and it is by Sean Murphy and Matt Hollingsworth. And I think I pronounced that right. And first of all, the covers are really beautiful. You can see, they're great. I love them, all of them. They're just so pretty. And second of all, the art inside is really amazing. Warning for some graphical content, as it should be in a Batman story, because it's violent as hell if you don't know. But it is gorgeous, if you can see. I love the art. So basically, Batman the White Knight is sort of a series that, for what I understand, is not canon in the Batman series, but it's kind of a side series about Batman and his relationship with Joker. So this is basically a plot-wise, what if the Joker got sane and wasn't a villain anymore? So basically what we have is Batman seen as a villain because he brings hardship and violence and destroys a little bit of Gotham every time he tries to fight the super criminals that are involved in Gotham. So basically the basic premise of this is that Joker, in one of his attempts to win over Batman, he gets into a facility where they are discontinuing some medications, and Batman, trying to stop him of doing it with an unfair amount of violence, makes him and forces him to eat those medications, and he gets really bad. And then Joker wakes up as a normal person called Jack Napier, which supposedly is him without the disease that turns him into Joker, and he decides that he's going to run for councilman, and he's going to show everyone in Gotham that Batman is the real villain of Gotham because of his actions, of his violence. He's the one that puts Gotham down, and Gotham doesn't need him. So Gotham can and should break free of Batman's control and try to solve things for themselves using the help of the police, Gordon, and everyone, and stop getting Batman to do their dirty work, because Batman is using that to kind of be the villain of the city and to control the city. And that's a very interesting premise, and obviously throughout the entire series you're still thinking, is this a Joker plan, or is he actually better, and is this something that we should be thinking of? Because I haven't read a lot of Batman comics, but even I can understand that Batman is sometimes way more violent and way more dramatic and uses brute force and some other means of working with the super criminals and with the police that he shouldn't. So he should probably be a little bit more, let's say a little bit less violent, so we can start with that, and maybe a little bit less competitive with the police and trying to just work alone, and to actually give the chance to his sidekicks and to the police to help him, which is something that he doesn't do because he's obsessed with crime and solving crimes. And you can say that that's a good thing, except when it is not and escalates into a full-on violent scale of destroying stuff and hurting people, which is kind of what he does. You can see in the beginning of the series, and that is not a spoiler, it's really the beginning of it, when he's chasing after Joker, he actually drives through some roofs, and he drives through a place where people are building stuff, and he actually hurts people, civilian, that are not to blame for what is going on, just because he is so obsessed in getting to Joker and stopping whatever he's doing that he doesn't care and can't see in front of his eyes that he's actually hurting innocent people. And that's obviously a problem. I don't want to say anything more about the plot because I think that the interesting thing of this series is that you always are in doubt if this is a Joker plan or a Jack Napier plan, and that's really amazing. So you never know if he's healed or not, although you start to understand what the reality is in the middle of the series, I believe. So I'm not going to say anything else about that, but I hope that piqued your curiosity. Also, what I have to say is, as a gigantic fan of the Joker, because I have to say, and if you don't agree with that, that's okay, but in my opinion, in my uncult opinion of superheroes, okay, everyone, I believe that the Joker is one of the best villains in the entire story of superheroes. He's a genius, and he's mad at the same time. And he does things that can seem cruel, that can seem crazy, and normally are, but there's a point to them in the midst of his craziness that you can actually understand if you take the time to look it over. And he is actually one of the most powerful villains. He's able to escape Arkham Asylum time and time again. He is actually able to be Batman Nemesis, which you would say it's kind of difficult because it's Batman, okay? So he's fairly interesting, and I'm a huge fan of the Joker, okay? I have an entire Funko Pop collection of all of the Jokers that came out, so that says something about me. And I loved this series, mainly his relationship with Harley Quinn, because in this series, that relationship is strong and it's a fairly normal relationship. So that's also a bonus point that I have for this series, because it shows us a strong Harley Quinn and a strong independent female woman that can work together with the Joker instead of being just there to be punched and to be the punchline of the thing. It shows us a strong Harley Quinn, and I really love that. I think it was fairly feminist in one point because she is physically stronger than the Joker, and it was really amazing. I really loved the dynamic of the two of them, and I don't want to say anything else about that because one of the best surprises that I had was actually the entire development of their relationship now that the Joker is supposedly cured, and I absolutely adored it. I always said that I love the dynamics between Joker and Harley Quinn, but I love them in a sort of a scientific kind of way because I am studying psychology, I'm majoring in psychology, and obviously I know that their relationship is dysfunctional and it's not good. But in this series, it was a great, great development of a relationship, and I adored it. So if you have a problem with Harley's and Joker relationship, which you should, you can finally have that guilty pleasure of a relationship that you had in your mind come fulfilled in the series perfectly, because he doesn't abuse her. Which you can say, well, that's not a Joker-Harley relationship. That's a normal human relationship, and I would agree. And that's what it is. And it brings them power. They are truly a power couple in this series instead of the Joker and Harley. Whatever you want to say about that, that's just my opinion. So the rest that I have to say is that all of the characters are fairly well constructed. Some of the other villains make appearances, which is kind of important because I think it brings together all of the universe of the Batman, or pretty much all of the most known important universes of the Batman came together, and I think that's pretty cool. You have appearances of Batman's sidekicks, you have some of the story of other comics or canon stuff inserted into this series, which if you don't know the characters that are actually being presented in this series, it's okay, because as I said, I have a small background of the Batman, but I do have a little bit of a background, and even if I didn't have, I would be able to understand it, because some of the characters, I understood why they were there and what they were doing and who they were. And they were fairly introduced in a way that you didn't need to know all of the canon things of the series of Batman comics, but you understood who they are and what they were doing. So I think that that's important when you do a new series that is out of the canon, so that new readers that don't actually read all of the comics and all of the series can appreciate, because they know who the characters are even if they haven't read the other stuff. And that's fairly important when you're doing a comic series, in my opinion, because you kind of have to pinpoint to those readers and not to the other ones, because they know the stories, and if they want to buy it, they will know why, and they will have specific points that they want to reach by buying those series. And for new readers, that's not like that. Like, you have to try and make them want to buy your series, not because it is Batman, but even because it is Batman, if you know what I mean. Like, even if it's Batman, it has something that you don't need to always be searching in your comics, if you know what I mean. I know that I'm getting a little bit rambly and confusing, but I just want to leave it out there that even if you haven't read any of the Batman comics, I for sure believe that you can take this and understand the entire story and get the satisfaction that I take from it, and maybe not the same that a Batman fan would take from it, but obviously that's different. But I think that you can take a lot of satisfaction. I love the character development. I love how the character of Batman was seen not only as the hero, but also as a human being, like someone that can be good, but can also be evil, that can be obsessed with something, but can also be forgiven. So he was human, and that was good, because Batman ultimately is human. He doesn't have any superpower. He's just a guy that is millionaire and knows technology and tries to do fitness to be able to fight. Like, I don't know. He's Batman, but he's a human being. And I think that this series reflected a lot of that, which sometimes in comic series, you don't see him as a human that much, which for me it's a loss, because it's a human character in a world of superheroes, and that is great, and I love that. So he has all of the flaws that a human being will have, or should have, or probably will have, because we are humans and we are not perfect, and that was pretty cool to see. I also like to see his sidekicks, and I'm not going to say who makes an appearance, because if you are familiar with the Batman comics, that will probably spoil you, and if you're not, I would like you to learn about them just by reading the series. So I'm just gonna shut up now. So in terms of pacing, this was a fairly fast-paced series, obviously because it's a comic series, so it's really fast. It doesn't have a lot of pages, it has a lot of art and not a lot of dialogue, because it has a lot of action scenes, which is normal, again, because you're reading a superhero comic book. But it was really interesting, I really adored it. I think there was time for character development, there was time for deep dialogues, there was time for a plot to be inserted there. Just something that I have to say is that there's a plot by the end of the series, so something that will change the path that is going on in the series. Some kind of plot change device, middle plot change. That was a little bit strange, but I could understand why it was there. And I think that it was probably the only way that you had to turn the story around and to actually reach the conclusion that it did. But it kind of seemed a little bit forced and a little bit strange, but it didn't diminish my enjoyment. I actually adored it in the same way, but that's maybe because I'm a Joker fangirl, so take it as you want. But yeah, it was fairly good, and what I can say is, if you're not a comic book fan, and if you feel like you don't like to read about superheroes, maybe if you want to try and pick it up and see if you're right or wrong, this will be a great series to pick it up. Firstly, because it's small and it's already over, so you can pick it up, I believe, anywhere for now. Because these things tend to disappear. I have no idea. With manga it's the same. What's going on with this? But whatever. And second, because you have characters that are explained and developed in an entire 8th volume series, but that you don't need to have a lot of background about them. to know about what they did in the other series. So you only need to read about them in the series and you understand. At least that's what I believe. So if you want to try superhero comics, namely about the Batman, and you don't feel like you want to go through an entire series of 50 or 60 volumes, like I have no idea how this works because I've never read them, you have The White Knight. And The White Knight is fairly cool. It has a really cool plot twist in the end, and that's all I'm going to say to leave you an appetizer, because maybe you will check it out. So that is all for today, guys. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you've read this series, tell me something down below so we can fangirl about it. Or if you don't have the same opinion as I do that this is a good series, please tell me something as well, because I would really love to know why you have that opinion, and I would really love to discuss about this, because I think that's fairly important. And yeah, guys, that is all for today, so happy readings to you all. Bye!